that's not intent to distribute.
I wouldn't think it would meet the
and she's like, he thinks it is, and I'm like, yeah, I guess I do. Like that's
too late
how
now.
it went down. And there was the point where it's like, do you swear that you're guilty of the things you say you're guilty of? And I'm thinking like, God, I hope they don't hit me with a perjury charge because I ain't doing this shit.
And we're live.
Say, oh, he pled guilty, he must be guilty or whatever. But I don't think they're aware of how the legal system really works, especially with the feds. Kyle, as you know, they've got a good 98, 99% conviction rate, somewhere in that neighborhood. Damn. They don't miss.
I had to plead to 2 counts. I only did one of them.
Yep, exactly. Pretty much taking a plea deal. If you defend yourself and you're still found guilty, which you ultimately will be in 90+% of cases, you're just going to get a lot more time for it.
And I remember there's a point during sentencing where they're reading this thing out, and maybe the judge is even reading it out, and he's like, do you you're basically swearing that you are guilty.
Right.
Which one did you think you were innocent of, Kyle?
Distribution, for sure.
You got hit with a distribution charge.
Yeah.
Can I jump in? I thought distribution could be described as like sharing it with a girlfriend.
That's how they described it.
Which you were guilty of.
But that's nonsense. If we'd taken that and argued it in like an open court, like that,
did they prove that you gave her some or whoever?
There was a text message where I invited her over to do. The point is, I don't think the judge asked. He's like, all right, so there's the possession, but I don't understand the intent. And they're like, well, there was a message where he asked his girlfriend if she wanted to smoke the marijuana with him, and he's like, that's not intent to distribute.
I wouldn't think it would meet the.
And she's like, he thinks it is, and I'm like, yeah, I guess I do. Like that's
too late
how
now.
it went down. And there was the point where it's like, do you swear that you're guilty of the things you say you're guilty of? And I'm thinking like, God, I hope they don't hit me with a perjury charge because I ain't doing this shit.
Yeah.
What was the one you felt like
you were innocent of one of these that you pled guilty to? So contempt.
Possession. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I had shit in my pocket, walking out of the post office when they grabbed me. So
does that confirm me that basketball shorts were invoked in your sentencing at some point?
Yeah, because I was wearing shorts, that meant that that was proof that I was heading straight back to my home because there's no way. They made it sound like I was in my underwear or like a robe.
Like you were in a robe.
Like I was in a robe I was like running out to the mailbox or something or getting the paper and obviously this guy. See, that's what that law or that idea would be meant for. The guy in his robe at the end of the driveway who's picking up a package and clearly taking it back into his house. Yeah. I'm down the road at a post office, like in my fucking car, like I was wearing shorts,
basketball shorts that people wear all
hot.
the time.
It was August.
Were they basketball shorts, Kyle? You always just said shorts. Okay.
Yeah. Just basketball shorts and like a t-shirt or something.
And that's evidence that you were going straight home to smoke the marijuanas.
Yeah, so that's what got him the into the house or whatever. But all that got like knocked out. That's why things went federal. But
that's supposed to be First Amendment that you can wear whatever the flying fuck you want to wear without it being held against you. But
that whole thing was nonsense. But your thing is even more nonsense. Like. All right, so I don't condone the things you said because you.
Me neither. I would like to make that clear. A lot of people seem to think that I'm saying I did nothing wrong. Let me go ahead and nip that before we get further.
I think it's
what I did was fucked. Punishment was warranted. My position is that the FBI is crooked, the prosecution system is crooked, and that my time was a little bit too much. That's it.
No, little.
You know what you should have had to do? Clean police cars. That would have been an appropriate punishment.
See, some probation or something.
How about a video apology to the other guy?
That's a little rough.
The kid in Virginia that reported me, I'm pretty sure he was like 15 at the time. I don't even think he knows
if you had
what
to apologize to him and like that's what I do if I'm the judge. You have to apologize to him and like use his screen name and like just embarrass yourself a little and that's it. The idea of sending you to prison for like popping off at the mouth while you're drunk and barely considered an adult at 19, like you can't even buy cigarettes at 19 anymore. It's pretty fucking wild.
And it sounds like there were a lot of like hedging statements. Like I'm obviously I'm being sarcastic. I'm joking. Clearly, I don't mean this. Like
there was really only one in particular with me that I can really definitively say should have been, the clearance, if you will. It was when I did say it's called sarcasm. Point blank in the middle of my tirade, I did say it's called sarcasm, Molly, to a player apparently named Molly. And then, of course, with my very high brain capacity at that time, I said, LOL, do you like Molly? So
And
you see where my head was at.
It's a 10 out of 10 joke.
10 out of 10.
You can see where my head was at.
Did that get brought up in the case at all?
No, it actually.
Yeah, now
didn't.
you're a dealer. They probably don't know what Molly is.
Every angle that wasn't this guy yelled this threat was really downplayed. They tried to belittle the fact that it was in an online game with anonymous names where your chat disappears after 30 seconds. They tried to belittle the fact that teachers from the school wrote character reference letters for me on my behalf. The assistant principal from my middle school, who spent most of his time at the high school and ostensibly would have died in any potential attack, sat in the front row at my sentencing hearing and waved at me when I came in the door. Like they tried to belittle all of this and keep it really covered up. And I also meant to say that as far as the sentencing hearing goes, when I pled guilty at the time, there was a pending case for online threats, Alonis versus United States. He's a guy who made a rap saying that he was going to kill his wife and then blow up a kindergarten or something stupid like that in a rap song. He wrote it in a rap song, and it was a pending case before the Supreme Court. And at the time that I made my threats, the threshold for what, the bar for the crime is, could a reasonable person, a reasonable third party interpret it as being a legitimate threat? If the answer is yes, such as yelling fire in a theater or whatever, bomb on an airplane, if the answer to that is yes, then it's not protected by the First Amendment. It was constituted as a true threat. Alonis versus United States actually raised the bar to now requiring proof of criminal intent. So if I made that threat today and I don't have guns in my home and they can tell that I was not trying to do anything other than piss off this one guy and not cause a real panic, then I wouldn't go to prison for it today.
What if you threatened to go to the hospital bed of a former UFC fighter and slowly choke the life out of him while you stare into his weak eyes?
Believe it or not, legal.
Should be legal.
Legal.
Especially if you make it a conditional statement, it's always protected. Like if I get drafted into the military, I'm going to slaughter that man.
Yeah. The what
in broad daylight
provides
it's
a lot
normally
of protection.
protected. Then
No, I've run that by my buddy Cliff Hutchinson, Esquire. He said it was fine. Were there any like boomer moments to the trial where like the prosecution is trying to take advantage of like a 70-year-old judge being like, Your Honor, not only are these jokes uncouth and inappropriate, he was literally laughing his ass off, rolling on the floor, laughing at the prospect of Columbine. My friend, was there anything like that?
My whole case was a boomer moment, man. From start to finish, everything about my entire prosecution and sentencing was nothing but a boomer moment. At one point in time, I mentioned the fact that my case was defined by a generation gap, and the judges and the prosecutors turned bright red, dude. The judge and the prosecutors got pissed off. The judge started slamming his gavel real hard, and like from then on out, it was wild. The worst part for me was whenever we were arguing the point in my pre-sentencing hearing, they said the defendant downloaded a video game making fun of the Columbine shooting in 1999. And we argued, we said, objection. The FBI forensic analysis proved that he did not download the game. There was a Google search for it. The page was opened. The game was not downloaded, which was my story all along. The judge shrugged and goes, I don't know what the term download nor attempt to download means, so I don't find it to be relevant. You can have that objection. You win on that point. And I'm like, that was a fucking white elephant. That was a bittersweet present right there. Like, you win, but it's not changing my mind about anything.
You win, but he has such little capacity to understand the ramifications of you winning that point that it doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
And it's a helpless moment. Like I didn't have that in the marijuana case, but when we had that gun possession charge, like when I was 22, like that judge literally didn't know the law, and I had all that nonsense printed off the internet, and I argued our fucking case in front of a goddamn judge and had a meltdown. If I hadn't said that, I think he was going to sentence us to something. Like he was firing brimstone up there, and it was just nonsense. All we had done was open carried guns with carry permits. It's scary when the judge doesn't know some really relevant information.
Yeah, recklessly swinging sentences out there, giving dudes 50 years and doesn't even know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's any accountability for a lot of judges. They're just kind of do their own thing, and they're allowed to.
Ironically, if you've ever served any time in jail or prison, you are not fit to determine the amount of time that other people should receive in jail or prison. You can't be a judge if you've actually been to prison. It's kind of odd, if you ask me personally. Like, you all have no concept of what that time is actually like on a day-to-day basis, but you're just handing out 50s and 60s and 40s and
maybe they should
life.
They should treat prison time like they do with like pepper spray. Like a cop can't carry the pepper spray unless he's been sprayed with it.
Yep.
Maybe we should give you a little solitary confinement for a few weeks. And,
that would probably do a lot for sentencing reform.
I bet it would. Unironically, like that would work. Like you put some 55-year-old, 65-year-old judge in solitary for 1 week, they'll be like, "Oh my god,
this is brutal.
I've been giving people 50 years."
Yep, exactly.